What's up, people? Welcome back to the BCMA podcast. That's the Black Clover Martial Arts podcast. It's your boy Lucky from Lucky's Muay Thai, and this is episode 100. And I first want to start off by saying, if you've been riding with me this long, I appreciate you so much. And also, thank you. This is crazy. Like, when I started this, it was just something to sort of be cathartic and pass the time a little bit. And also, like, if you've ever been to the gym, you know I can talk a little bit. So I just want to say thanks for riding with me. And probably the most important thing I think I've said throughout this whole first 100 episodes is that um, try to be better humans. And I'm sticking with that. I think that now, even more, like everybody's a little bit frantic about certain issues that may be going on that may or may not be affecting them. And I think the best thing we can all do is just try to be better humans to ourselves and to our friends and families. And that's how I want to start, how I want to end that first 100, basically the same way I started it, and start the next 100. So thank you all for sticking with this and also for hopefully being better humans. I mean, I guess we all can try a little bit, right? Okay. In this episode, PFL had a fantastic weekend. BKFC also had a fantastic weekend. Karate Combat slid in there and put their 2 cents. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then let's figure out if there's an actual number 2 behind the UFC as far as organizations go, because there are a lot of contenders out there right now and a lot of people out there trying to stake their claim. So I think we should go through that and maybe figure out, is there an actual number 2 MMA organization? But first, if you like the show, tap the like, hit the subscribe button, tell a friend, pass it along, drop a comment. It helps with the algorithm, I am told. If you want to stop by the gym, hit us up, www.luckysmt.com. We have the best Muay Thai program in Miami, and we'd love to have you be a part of it. We have an amazing jiu-jitsu program ran by Roberto Carrero. It's Pantera Jiu-Jitsu. You can hit him up at Carrero BJJ on Instagram. And again, we'd love to see you stop by and start your Muay Thai journey. www.luckysmt.com. Hit us up and we'll get you in there. Okay, PFL, BKFC, Karate Combat all had events this last weekend, and they all had big splashes in their events. Paul Hughes fought Usman Nurmagomedov, and that fight went the distance, and it was an incredible fight. Usman Nurmagomedov got pushed like probably he wasn't expecting. Paul Hughes took a ton of damage, but he didn't seem to be affected by anything that Usman delivered. It probably should have been a draw. It was called for Usman, but I think that should have been a draw, and you'll definitely see them fight again. And if PFL is smart, they'll do a rematch immediately. BKFC did Knucklemania. It was Eddie Alvarez versus Jeremy the Heathen Stevens, and obviously, BKFC brought Conor McGregor in, and so he was bouncing around there trying to have some viral moments, which I suppose he did. And Jeremy Stevens ended up breaking Eddie Alvarez's jaw, which caused Conor McGregor to get in Jeremy Stevens' face, and another viral moment. And Ben Rothwell won the heavyweight title, which, you know, he's a super lovable guy as a fan from the outside, so that's cool. I think that everybody's kind of doing a similar thing. But let me move on. Karate Combat is starting to make their way into things. They've added jiu-jitsu in the pit. They have Aline Pereira, which is Alex Pereira's sister. She's out there knocking girls out. They have an opportunity to really blow up with a few more stars, and they can build and they can really make something as well. But because of this social media era, everybody seems to be doing the same thing. And I actually just sort of realized how much they're doing. Everybody's doing the same thing. But there's an opportunity here for maybe one of these to rise to be the number 2 in combat sports. So let's take a look at the landscape really quick. PFL, BKFC, Karate Combat, One Championship, and Combate Global. Now, is there a clear number 2? There's definitely not going to be a clear number 1. But is there a clear number 2? I don't know. I think let's take a look at some viewerships and then let's see where they stand like in valuation. Like how much are they worth? PFL absorbed Bellator's fighters, obviously, and I think they got rid of a bunch of them. And the problem with PFL right now is like they got to figure out who they are. Usman wins, he wins the Bellator title, but Bellator doesn't even exist anymore. Why not win the PFL title? Like I don't understand why. It's confusing for the fan, and I think that's where they have a real problem. They need to figure it out. All these tournaments and this belt and that belt and this nobody even knows who's who, but they got all these names: Stotts, Hughes, Nurmagomedov, McKee, Ngannou. Like, what are we doing, man? Put on some good shows and let's keep it moving. They had a pretty good year last year, and I think they just need to build on it. When they did PFL on ESPN in March, they had like 430 some odd thousand views, which is enormous, right? And then they did the pay per view later on the year with Ngannou. Like they have an opportunity to really like let's just put the fighters in their damn weight categories and let's put on some exciting shows. And then you can build from the tournament after that. They already are doing the tournament, but maybe the next time we just let's not to I don't even know if you do away with the tournament, but you got to figure out a way that it's easier for the fan to understand who the hell is who. Like, all right, there's no Bellator. Stop handing out Bellator belts at the very least. BKFC, they brought in Conor McGregor to be ultra viral. They even just mentioned it that that's the reason why he's there is to be in front of the camera. So if that's the case, then they're kind of doing the right thing. It's to bring eyes to the sport and then for the sport to sell itself once people get there. BKFC is exciting to watch. It's got, there's something about toe the line, right? You gotta get up on that line, and when the bell rings, you gotta go. And dirty boxing is also fun to watch. They have some names to build on, obviously Stevens, Alvarez, um, Rothwell, like I said before, Louis Baboon's there. Um, they have like 500 million subscribers, but they have 100 million lifetime digital views, I guess it is. They have a real opportunity as well, but number two, no, no. The problem with BKFC is as exciting as it is, people like when the blood starts pouring in the UFC or in MMA in general, but in the UFC, people get a little like, wow, BKFC is bloody no matter what. Like it almost always is going to be bloody. There are knockouts that happen rather quickly, but like if you fight in BKFC or if you're watching BKFC fights, there's going to be a lot of blood, and there's a lot of people that get interviewed after whose faces look like they've been stomped on. So the problem with that is it's hard for the average viewer to like watch the fight and then see the cuts and so forth that are involved with actual bare knuckle boxing. So being number two is probably out of the realm for them, but growing the sport in sort of a niche underground market where it crosses boundaries and becomes way more international and like they can really grow that fan base. But the commercial you almost can't make it commercial. It's entirely too bloody, unfortunately. Like you can't over commercialize it, I should say. Karate combat. Okay, so they're smaller, but their production costs are small are relatively inexpensive, right? They do it in a pit, throw some stadium seating around it, or whatever the case may be. Some decent lighting, get some sound. I mean, I feel like they're not the costs are low. So the ceiling is high. All you have to have is enough big name fighters that you can turn into household names, keep those production costs low, do a couple of major events where the production costs are high, and they got an opportunity to do that. They brought in somebody that I know, Asim, he owns Goat Shed, and now he's the president of PFL because he was able to turn his gym Goat Shed into a well-known gym because of viral moments that he was able to capitalize on. And I think Karate Combat saw the same thing they saw in Conor McGregor, and doing sort of a viral person and also a Dana Whitish type president in the same, all in the same sort of realm, right? Bring him in, and create viral moments, but also be the president of the organization because he understands all this stuff that's going on and be the face, right? Um, so they have been creating some viral moments, which is cool. Most of them, I suppose, are cool. And but I don't know about growth into being the number two. I don't even know how people feel about visually the aesthetic. You know, people used to talk a lot of stuff about the karate pants or kickboxing pants from back in like the 70s. And they really thought to bring it back and capitalize on, let's throw the pants back on, let's make it more traditional. But they've done that. But even when a sim came in, he modernized the rules, right? So he added ground and pound and that kind of thing. So I'm not sure if I think the pants sets them apart, but the basic rule set, what I'm saying is they're not just doing karate. It's just called karate combat, right? They're doing a form of mixed martial arts. These are people with all sorts of backgrounds, not just a karate background, and they're fighting. And now there's ground and pound, right? So I believe that it's kind of one of those other things. It can eke out its own whole, and it's also they're also doing jujitsu, which has been really exciting. Been seeing some like submissions off the pit, jumping off the pit into arm bars or triangles or whatever, and like that shit is exciting. So they have an opportunity as well to really grow their own niche market and kind of like build it up and do some really solid events and make some money. 8.5 million views digital and TV, which is freaking amazing. Really good. One championship, just got named like a top five global sports property, 13.8 billion views. Now, one championship and the next thing I'm going to talk about, Combate Global, both are doing a fantastic job of capitalizing on a underserved market, right? One championship has taken over the Asian market. Based in Singapore, did they move to Bangkok? I don't remember. I think they're still based in Singapore. Nonetheless, the entire Asian market, right? So, of course, they're going to have billions of views. How does that translate into money? We'll talk about that in a second. But billions of views. Built-in fan base. The problem is they've had some issues with fighters quitting or getting released. They canceled the event that was supposed to be in Atlanta, I believe. I just am not sure that they're really built or building themselves towards the US market. I think they've turned maybe back towards let's focus really back on the Asian market. I'm not sure, but I don't get the feeling like that they're selling their product to me because maybe it was too expensive to do shows here, whatever the case may be. It feels like they started to pull in some American viewers and then they kind of pulled away from that. I don't know what's going on, but um, still a huge organization. I still love watching one championship because I do know the fighters that are in it for the most part. And I think that's the other thing is like a lot of people in the US do not know the fighters and are not interested in trying to figure out every fighter's name because it's very complicated for some people. And that kind of takes them away. Now, the fights they might love, but following them in the way they would follow the UFC or say the PFL is not the same because they have a hard time relating to the fighter, which is the other part of being a big organization is selling the fighter to the fan, bringing the fighter to the fan in a way that the fan goes, oh yeah, I like that person. That person, maybe they're like me, or, I'm into the same things they do. Oh, they like to have whatever, this food or whatever. Um, Showing the fighter to the fan and the fan relating to the fighter and then wanting, and that translating into ticket sales, pay-per-view sales, views, whatever you want to call it. Difficult for one championship to do that when most of the fighters are um, fighters from Thailand or fighters from maybe other places where the names aren't as easy to understand for the casual watcher. They were doing a really good job of using nicknames, which also is super dope. And I think that if the fans just took a little more time to try to get out of the laziness and get into the knowing who the fighters were. They would probably enjoy one championship even more, and that is always going to be the battle. Combate Global, Campbell McLaren, who helped start the UFC, he is doing the same thing. He is taking over the Latin American market, and he has Univision backing this. They did their first event in 2021. They beat the UFC that weekend. They had almost 1 million views. This is a built-in market. It is going to always have viewership. So when it comes to being a number two, I think, where are you a number two? Now, this market, this is like, these are great things, right? You find your niche, you're like, oh, I'll take the whole Asian community basically, and be like, yo, this is us right here. And then Combate Global is like, I'll take the whole Latin American community. This is us right here. I got this. I think that's dope. But let's see if it translates to dollars, man, for real. Combate Global's worth at last valuation $120 million, which is not bad. In comparison to one championship, $1.3 billion. Karate Combat, $14 million. But they're still up and coming. They're still young. Combate Global's had Karate Combat is a smaller organization that has bigger name potential. I'll just put it that way. But $14 million for Karate Combat last valuation. BKFC, $400 million. That's pretty freaking good, man. And PFL, $1 billion. So PFL and one championship seem to be the closest to where the UFC is. Obviously, there. I didn't even look it up. It doesn't matter because they sold for 4.4 billion or whatever. So we clearly know that that's way up there. But PFL, one championship may not have the opportunity, but PFL, if they could really just build on the names that they have, put together some good events, do this rematch in Dublin or Belfast, and between Hughes and Nurmagomedov, and add a couple of big name fights onto that card with some consequences or something that could happen because of those fights, and PFL could be well on their way to doing what they need to do. When you start throwing all these tournaments and all these extra Bellator belt, PFL belt, this, that, what, you start to lose the fan because the fan wants shit to be simple. We want to enjoy the fights. We want to know the fighters. And we want there to be some sense of like understanding who's at the top, who's on their way up, all of those simple things, man. The fans are simple. Put together the fights. Let us watch the fights. Don't separate everybody. Don't make this one over here, that one over there. They're never going to meet, and you guys are all in the same organization. It doesn't make any sense. So, is there a clear number two? Not really. But could there be? Here's the thing. They're all clear number twos. But PFL, if I was to really guess, has the best opportunity to grab a hold of a big chunk of this market out here because people love to see fighting and they love to see blood. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. I love y'all. This is episode 100. I can't believe it. If you like the show, keep the like, hit the subscribe button, tell a friend, hit that algorithm with a comment. And I love y'all. If you want to stop by the gym, www.luckysmt.com, at Lucky's Muay Thai on Instagram. I'll see y'all next time. Maybe I'll drop something cool with some like old videos and stuff of the episodes from the first 100. Stay tuned.